Hello everyone, back to today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's second video. So day 10 will take us to around the 9th of October, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that. We extended GFS and ECM ensembles right into around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFSV2 at the end of video the next 4 weeks. That will take us into the second half of October. Talking of October, the ECM GWV 30-day look ahead has been released. Yes, from Copernicus.eu. So we're looking at temperature, rainfall, and anomalies for the next 4 weeks for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well in that video. It's looking to be rather cool and wet October, especially the first half of it for much of West Europe. UK is included in that, and Ireland. So have a look at the ECM 30-day when you have done with this. There could be a very wet weekend coming up as well. So more about that in a moment. So we're going to begin though in the tropical Atlantic. So here we go. This is how things are currently looking in the tropical Atlantic. Very little going on. Had a little bit of a shutdown. In the tropical Atlantic so far. National Hurricane Center are saying tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 48 hours. So yes, we have got a quieter tropical Atlantic at the moment. Central temperature is continuing to come down, so here we go. We are now at 14.4 degrees, provisional to yesterday, the 28th of September. That's just 0.8 degrees above average now. Where's it going to finish up, I wonder? Could this go under 14 degrees? Could we eventually finish up with 13.9? I think it'll be a tough ask. If we do, it'll be because we get a big downwards correction. Now, we did have, if you cast your mind back to the very start of the month, we did have some quite cold nights very early on in the month, and sometimes when that happens, you know, they could be the months where you do get a slightly bigger downwards correction. So it's possible we might get to 30.9, but I think more likely is it will probably finish up around 14.0 or possibly 14.1. But it's going to be very interesting to see where we do finish up. We've got quite a cool wet day coming up in the CET region tomorrow, so that should shave another sort of tenth of a degree off it. So that gets us down to 14.3. I would assume today we stick at 14.4. Tomorrow we probably go down to 14.3. So then it will come down to how big the downwards correction is that we get this month, if we get one. Sometimes we don't get a downwards correction. But it's certainly not going to be all that far from like low 14s anyway. It's pretty remarkable when you think how hot it was, how high this was like a week to 10 days ago. It's come down a lot. We have seen a very, very big reduction in the CET. And of course the same thing happened in August, interestingly. In the last week of the month, we did get a big drop in the CT for August, but on that occasion, the CT had been so hot through the first half of the month that even with taking quite a lot off in the last week, we still finished up nearly 2 degrees above average during August. But of course, in September, it wasn't as warm to start off with, although it was pretty warm around the middle part of the month, but not as big a deviation had in August, and so that's why the CT has come down that much more. But yeah, both August and September having a big drop in the temperature in the last sort of week or so of the month, which is quite interesting that that's happened. Of course, we have July as well, which is our only slightly cooler than average month of the year so far. Be interesting where we finish up with that. So, of course, we'll know on Thursday. Thursday is the first day of October. We should be able to bring you the final sort of CT on Thursday. For September. Right, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Looking at London today. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. It just looks generally quite cool. We've got our dates still on the bottom of the chart. So from start to finish, it just looks generally rather cooler than average. Very mediocre temperatures, if that's right, as we're going through the first half, really, of October. There are one or two warmer outliers, these ones just here, especially later on, but generally that looks pretty cool. Pretty cool upper air temperatures for the next couple of weeks. And of course, the big story is probably going to be rain. So I mean, we've got some rain coming in even tomorrow, but it just gets more and more unsettled, really, through the second half of this week and on into the weekend. Big rainfall spikes there, indicating a chance of some torrential rain in places. Bit of a deluge coming up. It may go a little bit drier as we get towards the second half of next week. It might do. But even then, there are regular precipitation spikes even going into the second week of October. So it does look as though we're entering quite a cold and wet period. Quite cold and wet through the first half of October, potentially. Temperature anomalies from the 29th of September to the 7th of October are looking rather below average. Only a slight deviation, but a little bit on the cool and average side through most parts of Western Europe, actually. Warmer temperatures in the north and in the east of Europe. Precipitation anomalies from the 29th of September, 7th of October are looking wetter than average, particularly so for more southern and western parts of the country and down into France as well. So cool and wet on the western side of Europe in the next few days or in the next week. This is the latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net showing that the westerlies are re-establishing. So we've got low pressure up here. That's like the driver of the weather. There's a weather front coming in through here. And at the moment ahead of that, we are under a very, very slight sort of transient ridge of high pressure. But that's going to be blown away by tomorrow as these westerly winds and the attendant weather fronts move in from off the Atlantic. So we are entering into a very unsettled and pretty wet and westerly Atlantic-driven period. So this is how the UK Met is looking for Friday. Low pressure is dominating the weather on Friday. It's quite a complex setup that we've got coming up over the weekend and over the end of the week and into the weekend. We have got sort of several centres of areas of low pressure that will have the heaviest rain wrapped around, and where those centres go going to determine who gets the wettest weather. So there's one just there, for example. There's another one around there, and probably another one close to here on midnight on Friday. Now, as we go through into Saturday, we have the main centre of the low sort of across northern parts of France, just there. And then that sort of runs up the eastern side of the country as we go through from Saturday through to Sunday. That could bring some very heavy rain to southern and eastern parts of the country, with the north and west probably not quite as wet with that. Notice very strong winds wrapped around that low pressure, tightly packed isobars. And then the low pressure sort of sits over the central swathe of the country on Monday. It's in midnight Monday, so as we go for UK Met. Deep low pressure sitting right over top of the country, and again strong winds wrapped around that low. There'll be bands of rain rotating around the area of low pressure. So it looks very, very unsettled. That it looks really unsettled, and dare I say it, extremely autumnal. It'll be quite cool as well because we are on the cool side of the jet stream. The black line is the jet stream, so the jet stream is digging away to our south. So under that area of low pressure, plenty of rain, and also temperatures below average as well. This is how the GFS is looking for Friday. This is GFS 6Z. So again, we've got low pressure across the northern parts of France on Friday. That moves northwards as we go through into the weekend. It starts to push bands of rain up from the south, and as we get through to 6 o'clock on Sunday, the low band's moved up from France and is sitting right over top of the country. Again, there will be heavy rain rotating around that area of low pressure. Torrential rain in some places, no doubt, and it's going to feel very cool as well. Into the early part of next week, we keep that low pressure over the top of the country before it finally fills and starts to move out into the North Sea, but only at the expense of more low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. So that keeps the unsettled weather going through the middle and second half next week. And over time, later next week, we are starting to turn wind into the north. Notice we begin to get this sort of mid-Atlantic ridge going here in the North Atlantic, but it's trying to move its way up towards Greenland. So as the low pressure centres move eastwards, that starts to hint anyway that we begin to open the door to northerly winds perhaps as we move up towards day 10. Beyond that, so we keep high pressure out to our west, low pressure to our north and east, winds generally in from west until we get to the very end of a GFS run, which gets us to the middle of October, 15th of October, when low pressure only started to come back in from off the Atlantic. Winds are going more west-southwest. That's probably dragging in milder air from off the Atlantic. but will still be unsettled. So this is a very unsettled first half to October that we've got coming up if the GFS and the UK Met, I suppose, are right. Let's have a GM is looking. So again, low pressure is very close to the country on Friday. It's a very complex setup, this, but the general trend, I think, is really that from Saturday through to Sunday, we draw up an area of low pressure from the south. That will probably be where the heaviest rain is, with that area of low pressure, like late Friday through Saturday and into Sunday, pushing northwards across much of central, southern and eastern England at the moment, I would have thought. But almost anywhere could get very wet over the weekend. That's how it looks as we get through to Monday. Again, deep low pressure is over top of the country. The central pressure with that looks like going down to around 975 millibars, I think. So that's a very deep area of low pressure. It's a dartboard low set across the central part of the country. Around the low, got tight packed ice bars, so it can be very windy as well. Wet, a proper wet and windy weekend coming up. Been a long time since we've had a true sort of wet and windy autumnal weekend, but this is it, I think. This is the final descent into proper autumnal conditions. It's going to be a grim weekend. Unless you like that sort of thing, I suppose. As we move on into day 10, then start to bring low pressure in from off the Atlantic then. So still unsettled. We get rid of that dartboard low sat over the top of the country, but still unsettled. Low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. Notice again hints of higher pressure to the north, some higher pressure within the northern latitudes as well. That's quite unusual for October, which tends to be quite a zonal, sort of westerly driven month. So hints of northern blocking there within the northern latitudes with the GM. ECM looks like that. This is midnight on Friday, and again we've got this centre below down across France. There's another one just there, and another one over across these parts of Scotland as well, I think. So it just gives you the idea it's a very complex setup, but the main low is that one across the northern parts of France. As we go through from Saturday through to Sunday, that low pressure pushes northwards. Again, the centre of the low is across southeastern England. I think there will be torrential rain like on the northern and western side of that centre of the low. So some really wet weather coming up over the weekend. By the way, if this was the middle of winter, if this was say middle of January, 4th of January rather than 4th of October, this would be a very snowy scenario, most likely. So it's another one of those situations where we're getting interesting synoptics outside of winter, but will we see anything like this when we get to winter itself? That is the question, isn't it? So we go into the early part of next week and we get rid of that low pressure. That moves away to the east, but it stays unsettled with low pressure then still coming in from off the Atlantic. So we finish up day 10, Friday 9th of October, still under an area of low pressure, and we have more lows in the Atlantic, more downstream waiting in the wings. They're probably only going in one direction. Again, hints of higher pressure within the northern latitudes as well with the ECM, which is not impacting us directly, other than I suppose sending a jet stream a bit further southwards than you would normally expect, probably make us a bit cooler than average, but generally its impacts are quite limited on us up to this point. But it's a point of interest because it's quite unusual to get hints of northern blocking in the early part of October, which tends to be more sort of westerly and default positive LEO type conditions. Right, this is a rainfall forecast based on that ECM run from Tometeo.com. So we're going to be bringing in wet weather from the Atlantic in the next few hours. So this is how we look at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. A band of heavy rain moving in off the Atlantic onto the western side of the country, and then that rain spreads steadily towards through the country during the course of tomorrow, and there it is, getting a bit stuck across east and southeast parts of the country tomorrow evening. Some heavy bursts of rain in with that as well, and that then sort of unleashes this very unsettled spell of weather. So we go through into Thursday and Friday, and yes, got more wet weather to come. There's this low pressure pushing up from the south with heavy, maybe torrential rain piling up from the south as we go through from Friday in towards Saturday. Loads of heavy rain pulling in from the east over weekend. Quite unusual. Look at that. Heavy rain gathering to our south and east and then pushing east to west across the country. That's quite unusual. And again, if it was winter, that would probably be copious amounts of snow moving in from the east. And just stays very unsettled, very wet through the weekend. Regular bouts of rain rotating around those areas of low pressure. Not till we get through to the start of next week, but we take that low away to the east and start to turn things a little bit dry. Still showery, but a little bit drier from the early part of next week. But more rain starts moving in from off the Atlantic as we're heading up towards day 10. And we generally look pretty showery, showers and longer spells of rain right the way up to day 10 with the ECMWF today. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 by the Icelandic Met Office. Gets us to the 9th of October. We have 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles, all of them going for low pressure to be over top of the country, combined with northern blocking up here above average heights in the northern latitudes. So that's pushing the jet stream south, so that means we're on the cool side of the jet and a trough of low pressure. We look cool and wet up to day 10 with the ECM operation run and all of its ensembles as well. In 2 weeks' time, this is the option that we've got. This gets us to the 14th of October. 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles, all of them having high pressure to our west and northwest. Again, hints of blocking up towards Greenland. Not particularly low pressure, you would say, but certainly lower pressure just here. So I imagine there's like the leftover, sort of a leftover trough or something going on there. It's probably not quite as unsettled, but it would still be cool, you see. We would still be bringing him a wind from more of a northerly direction with that, I think, as we've got the high pressure away to the northwest. The jet stream would generally still be a little bit to our south. So although not as unsettled, not under a deep trough of low pressure, still cool and probably showery. Could even be quite cold. Maybe cold enough for overnight frost. Let's just have a look at 7th V2. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes us from 29th of September to 5th of October. Coming week is unsettled with low pressure trapped over top of the country. It's sort of stuck between two ridges. So we've got high pressure and blocking away to our north and northeast and also to our west. And that leaves the jet stream doing something like that. We're trapped between the two ridges under a trough of low pressure. Week 2 is the 6th to the 12th of October, again blocking to the north above average heights in the Norwegian Sea and stretching back in towards the Arctic below average heights underneath it. High pressure is pulled out to our west-southwest again. Jet stream doing something a little bit like that. So on the cool side, jet still, and we are still looking very unsettled there. That is week 3, which is the 13th to the 19th of October, still under a trough of low pressure. Not quite as deep with the trough, but nevertheless still cool and showery, high pressure through there and over there. With time, the high pressure is moving more towards Canada, you'll notice. But it still leaves us really on the cool side of jet stream, still looking quite cool and unsettled there through the middle part of October. And then finally, we get through to week 4, which is the 20th to 26th of October, with high pressure to our north from Iceland over towards Norway, low pressure down here, a ridge over on the southeastern and eastern side of Europe. Quite complex, this. A ridge just there as well, and we're under this trough still. Probably a bit warmer, could be bringing up winds from more of a southerly type direction with that, but the broad pattern is still unsettled with further rain to come. So if this is right, we could be heading for a very unsettled October indeed. Very wet October is certainly possible and quite cold through the first half of it. Finally, just say, but if you're enjoying the videos and the content on the channel at the moment, then please can you click like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. We are on the grind to 8k subs, and if everybody who subscribes brings a friend, then we're going to get to 8k that much quicker. So thank you so much to everybody for doing that. When we reach 8k subscribers, we are going to give away an Amazon voucher worth £30 in a live stream. So it's going to be really really, really exciting when we get to 8K. But we've got a while to go yet before that happens. It'll probably be towards November or December, I would have thought. But we are putting on subs quite quickly at the moment. So they are moving quite quickly. But I would think towards the end of the year, we're giving away that Amazon voucher just nicely, perhaps, for Christmas. So you can do a bit of Christmas shopping, thanks to, or courtesy of, GavsWeatherVids. But yeah, please, click like on videos anyway. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you sub to the channel and tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. And that'd be absolutely great if you can do that. That's it for today's videos. Now, tomorrow, of course, we're live streaming from 6 o'clock. So, what we're going to do tomorrow for an upload is a USA forecast. We do a once a week USA forecast on a Wednesday now. And so you will see the USA forecast as the upload tomorrow. And then from 6 o'clock we'll be live streaming. We're gonna go through the 12s there, and we're basically gonna do a 10 to 14 day update. So everything that I've done in this video, we'll do that, but as part of a live stream. You can see what I mean. That seems to be going down quite well, quite nice. I think a lot of people are enjoying that live stream, the 10 to 14 day video update on a Wednesday. So we'll be doing that. We'll have a look at the ECM. Do you have temperature, rainfall anomalies week 5 and 6, and yeah, it's going to be absolutely great. So I shall see you live at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, hopefully. But before then, of course, we will have USA forecast for you tomorrow as well. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.